We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport.
Welcome to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. John, we are in episode 22 of our third season, and it's a great show.
Yeah, I'm excited. It is going to be a great show. I caught up with Bobby Costello.
Oh, that's awesome.
At Tryon in the wind and the rain, and then Dianne Grod.
Oh, fantastic. We got her. In fact, she's in studio. We can't wait to have her in.
Awesome.
And so you did something interesting. You just went over, it's interesting to me, and maybe everybody else out there. You went over to find some horses. You just got back.
Yep.
And you're having a little jet lag.
I'm a little tired,
yeah.
So if I don't look my normal fresh self.
Well, your hair really looks good.
I wondered what you were going to say. I drove over with the windows open to try to floof it.
That was good. You should have the top down.
Yeah. Well, it was a little cold.
No.
So.
Well, welcome back. Did you have a successful trip?
Yeah, we did. We've got 3 horses going to the vetting. Actually, I just had a call from one of the vets here just as we were getting ready to start.
Oh, gosh.
But I don't think anything happened today, so I think we're okay. I'll deal with that later. So we found 3 nice horses, and they're all getting vetted and had a great time. We spent 2 days in Ireland and 2 days in England, and probably saw, I don't know, I didn't do the numbers, but I would think 30 or 40 horses. So
wow, that's a lot.
It was a lot. It was really fun, though, and
fantastic.
The weather cooperated mostly. Every day we'd get up, and we'd be like, okay, it's going to be rainy and wet today.
But it didn't.
And then the sun would come out. It was like, Florida has come with me. It was awesome.
At you.
Yeah.
I know typically it's not like that when you're over there in November, December. But
No.
Elisa's over there now, coming back tomorrow. She's found one.
Awesome.
So we're excited about that. We had you at Tryon. And so there was a big winner there for the 4-star, somebody that's been on our show before, the national championship put on by the Duda Corporation. That was Dianne Grod.
Dianne Grod. Sorry, Dan. I think when we had him on the show, we massacred his name the entire time, which was funny because we asked him how to say it.
Right.
And I still messed up.
Well, he's such a nice man. He's not going to sit there and tell you any different anyway.
I'm used to being corrected. So.
Well, congratulations, Dan. I know he was second after dressage.
Yep.
He blew around the cross country, came in on time, and was in first. And then it was a little bit like suspenseful for the show jump because he had 2 rails.
Right.
But Liz also had a rail, but there was a difference of only like within 1.1 or 0.2 points. So it came down to seconds.
Well, I was excited for him, and it was funny. I heard a story in the barn, right? So, you know how it is. Like you're getting ready to go out cross country, and you're walking your courses the days before, and you're getting nervous, and you're getting worked up, and you're getting yourself pumped. And when somebody comes up to me and says in a situation like that, hey, what do you think of the course? My answer is usually something like, it looks good. I think everything's jumpable. I'm a little concerned about this or that. Apparently, one of the other competitors went up to Dan and said, Dan, what do you think of the course? And he goes, I think it looks like lots of fun.
Well, evidently, that's what you got to start doing.
I'm going to try to channel my inner Dan next time.
Well, Dan is a true amateur, too. He lives in Indianapolis,
Yep.
and he has a real job. In fact, he owns a pretty successful company that has rental for college dorms and rooms and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I'm excited for him. He just took that horse up to 4-star. It's not that old.
No.
He's taken his time because he was prepared last year to probably do the 4-star, but he waited until this year. So congratulations, Dan, on that win. It's the USEF national champion 4-star long horse.
Yep. Yeah, and it was, I'll tell you what, like lots of rain. The ground wasn't perfect. I think it's always a difficult track there, and it was soggy, nasty going, acceptably good.
Right.
But it wasn't ideal. So for him to go out there and get that done is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was impressive to watch, and so congratulations. I know, what else has been going on?
Well, the other thing that isn't so much fun news is obviously Rob Bowersox with Major
Right.
League Eventing.
What a shock.
I mean, completely. I saw him at Maryland. I was walking the cross country at the big drop at the end. Saturday morning, actually, with Zach. And Rob came right up to the string and was like, hey, Zach, hey, John, how you guys doing? He looked great. He actually looked more fit and good, like he was
Right.
really taking care of himself. And he was, The one thing, like I didn't know Rob terribly well. I knew him from when we had him on the podcast.
Sure, and when we were interviewed
Right.
by him and Karen.
You know, they sort of did a little bit more like the northern circuit, and I do like you, the circuit down here. So I knew him peripherally, but not intimately. But the one thing about him that always impressed me was he was always so friendly and outgoing and accommodating and just wanted to know how you were doing. And
I totally agree. Just the nicest man,
Yeah, he
and
was
has
great.
2 sons,
yeah.
Rob and Joey.
Yeah, Rob and Joe, yeah.
Joe,
Yeah,
sorry.
I think it's Joe. And then his wife Karen, who's just such a nice lady, and my heart goes out to his whole family. It's
The
just
whole
terrible.
family. We send our condolences, and I know it's it's a shock when something that happens that's wasn't expected, and so
Yeah.
that's sad. I know that they are a very big influence on, like you said, Major League, and I think they just worked a deal with another podcast company. So our thoughts are with the family, and we just hope that his memory lives on, which it will. I mean, we'll keep
Well,
him
and that's
alive.
kind of the neat thing is I was on social media and looking, and I mean, he's really set up like an empire with this Major League
Right.
Eventing thing, and such a community there to support his family, and
Just the stories that came out
yeah,
from everybody.
yeah, and it's
I
just
mean-
I think he set something in motion. He and Karen set something in motion that is just going to keep going. So that's if there's any little bit of silver lining to it, I guess that would be it.
His voice will live on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, and then, so moving on from that sad news, is there any happy news that you have had since, we've seen you?
Well, I mean, let's see. I went to. I just got home. I do get to. So we're here for Thanksgiving. Obviously, it's Thanksgiving right now.
Right.
So happy Thanksgiving to everybody and everybody
Exactly.
out there.
It's Turkey Day.
Yeah, and I do get to go on Sunday morning. I get to spend a week in Jamaica.
Look at you. Are you finally making that trip? Is
is
this
our-
the trip that you've been trying to do
Yeah,
for like
this
3
is our
years?
third attempt at our 20th anniversary.
Now you're going to like get your tickets right. You're going to get your whatever.
No, we'll screw it up somehow. I'm sure. I'm just not sure how.
Well, in that vein, we are secured to go to Africa with Lucinda Green on
Right.
the offbeat safari, all horse safari in January. And guess who's joining us? Sarah Broussard.
I was going to say Lucinda Green.
Well, Lucinda's going to be there.
Sarah's going. That's awesome.
Sarah's going.
Oh, you guys are going to have an awesome time.
I know. We're going to go to Amsterdam first, and then Amsterdam to Nairobi, Nairobi to the Mara.
That's a lot. That's a lot of flying.
I know. I thought about you. You're just like, John wouldn't do well for that.
I tell you what, we landed, just to digress a little bit, we landed in Orlando, and it wasn't that rough a flight. And I got sick. I had to run back to the men's room and got sick as soon as we hit the tarmac.
So, Joel, we're never going to be able to get him out on a boat.
No, it's not happening. I'm telling you, I am terrible.
Why?
I have a sensitive tummy.
Okay.
Just saying.
Well, so exciting. I know we're going to have him in the second the second segment, and that's Bobby Costello and the cool thing that just happened for him, and I think it's a great move. So that's going to be an exciting interview.
Yeah, so he did get rehired.
Right.
And so I think he's in, he told me what in the interview, I think he's,
What his title is?
yeah, he gave me the title, but he also said how long he's,
Oh, the
what
contract.
length. I think it's
Okay.
through the next Olympics, basically, because
All
that's
right.
when they all get auto-renewed. But yeah, no, I think it's a good move for the team, and Bobby does such a good job. He's so level-headed and cool and calm and just,
Well, that's
Very
what they
good.
needed, right? And I do know that I sent him a text just because Elisa gave me a call, and she said, Bobby's already called me and started talking to me. And I was like, that's really his job to do,
Yeah.
right? To reach out,
Absolutely.
have a conversation, say, what's your plan, what's going on. He's really good at that. So it's good to hear that. Oh, I know, December is the USEA convention in
Yes.
Savannah.
Yep.
So everybody out there, if you want to go to the USEA convention, I'm sure you need to get your tickets and get to Savannah and get in there and do what you need to do.
yep, I'll be there. I'm sure you'll be there. You going?
I don't know.
All right, maybe you'll be there. I'm going. I'm driving up. It'll be a good time. So just before we finish out this segment, the last thing we should say is, like we always do, if you guys can make sure that you check in on YouTube and Facebook and all the podcast players and give us reviews and likes. That's a huge help for the show. I did get the person, and I don't have the name now, but I did get the person to mail the shirt to, which was supposed to go out today, but I forgot, so I'll send it out tomorrow, promise. So we finally got our shirt winner, so that's good.
That's good.
Yeah, so that t-shirt is going out, and I don't know, maybe we'll decide later if we're going to give anything else away or not. We can decide that in segment 5.
Maybe we can give out like a week free lessons with you or something.
Yeah, or something else. All right, we will be right back with Mr. Bobby Costello right after this. Want to advertise on the John and Rick Show? Contact John at 352-875-8622.
Or call Rick at 850-879-2649.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
Dusty Rose Farm, a beautiful and newly renovated 25-acre farm, is offering long-term or seasonal rent, dry stalls, and layout. Located in Anthony, Florida, it's just 30 minutes to both Weck and Hits, 15 minutes to Majestic Oaks, 35 minutes to the Florida Horse Park. 38 stalls available for rent in 2 barns that have all the amenities. Large stalls with new mats and automatic waters. Plenty of turnout, half-mile irrigated track, 300 by 300 natural sand arena with a full jump course and dressage court. Loads of parking with 2 full RV hookups. Call or text for rates to book your stay in sunny and warm Ocala, Florida. 636-751-1200. I'm John Holling. We run Holling Eventing out of Willow Run Farm in Ocala, Florida. We run a full-service training facility here at Holling Eventing. We have amateur clients, we have sale horses, we teach lessons, and obviously our own competition horses as well. When Kurt first arrived at the farm, he was a little bit nervous and excited. Stress Less really helped so we could get him in a training routine. Stress Less is really easy to use. It's a part of our program. He gets it as a daily supplement, and it helps us keep him focused and ready to go to work. This year, we're moving Kurt up to the preliminary level. He's been doing great, and I'm very excited about the season to come. I'm John Holling, and I'd recommend Stress Less to anyone who wants to help their horses stay calm and focused. Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros, and we are here at Tryon International. It is a wet, rainy day, and I was fortunate enough to catch up with my good friend, Robert Costello. Bobby, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, John. It's a beautiful day.
Well, I figured it was going to be easy enough to wrap you into this, because I said we'd go someplace dry.
Yeah, this is great. Ish, dry-ish.
Dry-ish, as long as the wind doesn't blow this way. So obviously the first thing is congratulations on the new job.
Thank you very much.
So originally you were like the interim, the interim chef to keep?
Yes.
And so what's the title now?
Technical advisor / chef to keep.
Got it.
So
they
most
removed
of the time
interim
I'll
and
be
gave you an extra one.
Yeah. I think I'm, I was basically doing both over the last 6 or 7 months. Technical advisor will be all the stuff that I kind of do on day in, day out, kind of type of thing, and then at the competitions will be more like the chef role.
Right. Okay. And so, not that I want to give you away any of like the deep dark secrets, but was it pretty intense going through the interview process? I know I got to be a part of the initial stages of it, but it went on for quite a while. Yeah. So was it a lot of pressure?
It was very intense, and it's so funny because I had so many people say, "Well, of course you're just going to get the job." So like, I'm glad you think so. I absolutely did not think that I was a shoo-in, because it's a big difference between kind of coming in, doing something very, very specific for a very specific amount of time,
right,
and then coming in and actually having to develop a plan for multiple years, kind of look into the future, all sorts of things that I didn't have to really worry about, that it is obviously part of the job now. So it was a pretty intense interview process, and I think it was actually good because it was like a good exercise for me to have to go through all that and not just do it on the fly. I really had to sit down, give it lots and lots of thought to what I would do if I were to continue doing this job over the next 24 months or so.
Right. And so is that, I don't even know, is that how long you're in for now? Is that the contract?
Yes, my contract goes through basically this time 2024, so through the next Olympics.
And that's because that's when they renew all coaches.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, historically that's when they would renew the contract, and frankly I think it's perfect. I'm all in through then, and then who knows, after that, who knows what they would want to do, who knows what I would want to do, but absolutely to give it 100% from now till the Olympics, and I'm really excited.
So obviously the big question is well, first of all, I totally hear what you're saying. When you were getting through the interview process, I sort of equated it to, because I love football, except this year because the Packers are terrible. Yeah. But I equated it to when an NFL team gets an interim head coach, those coaches sometimes get rehired as the full-time coach, but sometimes they don't because it is a different deal. So absolutely fair point. So what is the day-to-day job? I mean, I know I want to talk a little bit about what you're doing here on the weekend, but on a regular daily basis, how much effort goes into how much effort do you put into the job of coach of the U.S. team or chef of the U.S. team?
Yeah, so I'm not really the coach, so there's going to be very, very little actually one-on-one coaching that I will do. That there will absolutely be people that maybe are getting into the program, are haven't quite figured out who their kind of everyday coach is going to be. I've already stepped in that role a couple of times. So there will be a coaching element, but that's not the primary one. So it's a lot of planning. Like right now we're looking at the Pan Ams are next year.
Yep.
A little bit later in the year.
And to that point, just to interject, and we'll get back to the Pan Ams next year. What is the plan for that? You guys obviously got qualified at the Olympics. So are you looking at taking less experienced horses and riders? Are you looking at just trying to go there and dominate it? You taking 5-star horses? You taking 3-star horses?
Well, we're definitely going to go and dominate no matter what. I think it's always very important to go to with the mindset that we're going to win. And but yes, we do have the luxury of taking very, very good, perhaps younger horses with still experienced riders. We have to go, we have to win. That's very, very important. But to have the luxury of bringing along the younger horses and bringing along a younger rider or two would be fantastic.
And do you think those younger horses, younger riders will need to have been advanced horses and riders at that point?
Yeah,
or?
So the Pan Ams will be, the cross country will be at the 3-star level, but the dressage and the show jumping will be at the 4-star level. Okay. So obviously we have to make sure that these horses can do changes, that they can show jump at the advanced level. So we'll be definitely looking at horses that have at the very least have done a 3-star long plus a 4-star short or 2.
Got it. Okay.
And there may be horses with more experience, but that would be the bare minimum 3-star long, and then at least some advanced /
Where is the Pan Ams?
4-star at Santiago, Chile, I believe.
Oh, right, Chile.
Yeah,
I love Chile.
Very, very end of October.
Got it. Awesome.
Are you trying to make a joke there?
I was trying to make a joke. I love chili, and you cut me off,
flat,
especially with beans.
Just flat.
Love it. Love it. I make a mean chili. I'm just telling you right now. Okay, so you're here at Tryon. I saw you yesterday. You were giving the fashion advice for the job.
Yeah, that was very important.
Yes, super important. And then today you said you were watching some of the 4-star dressage and then some of the 3-star dressage. Mm-hmm. So when you come to this competition with sort of your team manager hat on, or chef hat on, what do you do? Yeah,
because since I'm not out there coaching everyone, I'm just, honestly, there are a lot of horses, especially for the Pan Ams next year, where there will be up and coming horses that frankly I may not know that well yet. So it's a great opportunity for me to kind of get to know these horses. Obviously, there's a couple of selectors here, and they're looking at it from a completely different kind of perspective than I am. But absolutely to see either some of the up and coming riders that maybe haven't caught my attention yet, or those up and coming horses, and that's really a fun part of this job, is to always be trying to find who's going to be the next up and coming great horse for the team, rider for the team. So there's definitely a lot of that.
Okay. And so you've done I mean, you've worn so many hats. You've helped organize events, but for this discussion, you've done the head selector thing.
Yep.
Now you're doing the chef thing. What, like, does that change your relationship to the riders? And I don't mean the riders on a whole, but I mean those team riders.
Yeah, I frankly think it was harder as, I mean, I was chairman of the selectors for like 9 years.
Right.
So that was, I mean, I kept most of my friendships intact because it's a very small sport.
Yep.
You know, we all started doing this as friends, you
Yep.
know, growing up and competing and doing this as friends. Obviously being a selector makes it a little bit weird, but I think by and large, 98% of my friendships, you know, stayed intact throughout that time because I think people, I know, hate you, or you hate me. Just kidding. That you know, I think that you just gotta. I think people know that I'm honest, and you know, I don't have any agenda, and you know, I'm pretty unbiased. You have to be
Right. Well, it just comes down to either you perform or you don't, doesn't it?
It's pretty cut and dry.
Straightforward.
So yes, it is different, but there is still a role that I'm kind of watching and I'm assessing and I'm.
Do you have a say in selection?
No.
See, and I think that is, to me, thinking as a rider, that's so important because then you feel like you can come to you or whoever's in that position and that you're going to be an advocate for us rather than
has to be that
choosing
way.
us.
Has to be the way. And honestly, because I did this selector role for so long, I have to, you know, every now and again remind myself, this is my job now. It's not to try to think of like, you know, building teams and, you know, for on some level, you know, that's the you know, putting together the team once it's bringing the team together, once it's named, that's my job.
Right.
And the selectors actually, I think, have, you know, they had an incredibly hard job this year, which I think they did an incredibly good job selecting that team. But no, it is absolutely different. And you know, and the way that I have to come at it is different.
I would think you almost would go into it, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong here, go into it thinking I want to make the selector's job as difficult as possible by having so many horses and riders to choose from. Whereas when you're a selector, you're almost like, okay, hopefully these guys kind of filter themselves out.
You are always kind of, as a selector, looking a little bit for the faults. You know, it's part of the job. But that, you know, is, you know, I want to see our riders go out there and always put their best foot forward and always be giving the performances that is going to make the job harder for the selectors. Yeah.
Well said. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. Hank, thank you for coming on the show.
Best looking dog in America right here.
Absolutely. You're a good boy. All right. Well, hopefully the wind isn't too bad and we can can make sure everybody can hear this.
Hope you all been hearing this.
Yeah. Otherwise I'll have to call you and we'll do it again. So Bobby, thanks very much for coming on. I appreciate it. And we will be right back after we check in with some of our sponsors.
I'm Gabby Ruane, and I run Ruane Eventing. I run my program out of Reddick, Florida. I start off in the morning bringing the horses in, feeding, and then tacking up and riding pretty much all day. It's always a busy day here with multiple horses in training. When Mufasa first arrived, he was quite sensitive and reactive as a young horse. I decided to start him on Stress Less. I've tried quite a few other supplements and I felt like they all dulled him. Stress Less was the first supplement that really let me get through his tough moments, but I felt like he could still keep that spark that made him special. Stress Less helps keep Mufasa calm but responsive even through his tough moments. When Mufasa first arrived, he was quite reactive and sensitive, and I needed something to help me get him through those tough moments. Mufasa began his career as an event horse last year, and this year I hope to move him up to the preliminary level and then end the year with a 2-star long. I'm Gabby Ruane, and I would recommend Stress Less to anyone who wants their horse more focused and rideable overall.
Hi, my name's Leslie Law, and we are a proud supporter of Jump for Joy. We've been using their portable cross-country jumps now for about 10 to 15 years. We love these jumps because, as you can see, they're very easy to move. I would only take another person on the other side and I could place this fence wherever I wanted to very easily.
Rick Wallace here, bringing you Equibrew, a live probiotic that is geared to help your horse's gut health.
I'm a true believer in this Equibrew, and it really makes a difference in all of my horses. Equibrew is safe, non-toxic, and clean sport compliant for FEI and racing events. Equibrew is an intact fermentation product with very high numbers of beneficial microbes. Order at equibrew.com or 850-879-2649.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros, and we are here in our Stress Less segment, and very excited, Rick, we've got Dianne Grod with us.
We do. Dianne, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I know you were a super great friend of Douglas Gray Hannum.
Yes.
I love
For
his
many
name. I know his
years.
name is Dougie, but I love to go with Douglas Gray. That's what I call him all the time now.
I didn't even know that. Douglas
See,
Gray.
now you've learned something. Dianne, you have been in the hunter jumper world for a very, very long time, which is
Because I'm old.
not only that, you're not old at all. You're just very well established in what you're doing. But tell us what your greatest accomplishment was, and I think the best horse that you ever had. And I know the answer to that. We're going to let you do it for us.
Well, I have to say that for sure one of the best, and heart of hearts, the best horse I ever had was the Godfather, who was a racetrack reject.
Wow.
Flunked the vet every time he got vetted. I was lucky enough to be really good friends, and still am, with Patty Jenkins, Rodney Jenkins's ex-wife, first ex-wife.
Right. One of those.
All right.
And she actually lives in Crystal River.
Oh, wow. That's close to where our producer lives, Joel.
Oh,
So I know this about the Godfather and this story. So correct me if Rodney didn't like the horse.
hated him.
So his hate was your best thing to
I was
happen
a
to you.
lucky girl.
So tell us, you get the horse. What do you see?
Well, how I got him was Patty called me and said, I've got this horse you've got to come look at. And I go, what do you mean you've got this horse? I mean, thinking Rodney has this horse.
Right.
She says, Rodney hates his guts. He's a really bad shipper. He tore up a bunch of equipment and tack trunks and trailers. And
Just all
she
the
said,
whole gamut.
He said, get this piece
A
out
thing
of
out
here.
here.
And so she took it to a guy named Jay Golding's farm, and she called me up and she says, this horse is allergic to wood. And
That's a good allergy to have if you're a horse.
yes, particularly one that a short lady's going to ride.
Right.
So she said, can you get here? And I said, I can't right now, but I said, I know somebody looking for a horse. I'll send him. So, and it was Kenny Nordstrom, and there was an opera singer way back in the day, Ezio Pinza.
Oh, yeah.
And his daughter was Gloria Pinza, and she rode with Kenny. So I said, I'll send him. So he goes, looks at the horse. I don't hear back from him. So I call him up. What did you think about that horse? And he said, well, I loved him and he jumped fabulous. He says, but I think they got after him before I went there. And I said, why didn't you ask her
Right.
how she schooled him or what was going on? And he said, well, it made me nervous that he was so careful. I was on the plane about 2 days later. I jumped him over 6 jumps and said, let's make a deal. I mean, I paid $15,000 for him.
And what year was that?
72.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
72.
Yeah.
So we kind of jumped all into this without really talking about your accomplishment. That horse helped you with some of those. So you've been on 2 Nations Cups.
Yep, I rode him on the first Nations Cup ever held
At
at
Spruce
Spruce
Meadows.
Meadows. And
That's pretty
That's
record recording.
Yeah, and
recording,
Mark
I like
Phillips
that.
was on the British team there.
So is this the story that you were going to segue in for Mark Phillips? Was it at Spruce Meadows?
It was at Spruce.
Oh, let's do it. We got time.
We got some good time. We can talk about this. So we're going to talk more about The Godfather, but I want to hear about The Godfather at Spruce Meadows with Mark Phillips. And you writing The Godfather.
Yeah. So lots of parties at Spruce Meadows, particularly in its infancy.
Right.
And so Mark and I had become friends, and so Nancy Southern, who's the daughter of the creators of the Spruce Meadows, all of their shows,
Right.
is another really good friend of mine. And she was single at the time. I'd been single for a while. And Mark wanted to tag along with us.
Right.
So we go to this party, and that's all fine and everything. And he's trying to keep a low profile because he was married at the
Right.
time
Sure.
so, to royalty. And so we decide we're all going to go to this party.
Right.
Oh, but earlier in the evening, there was a team, all the teams parties.
Yeah.
And the British people were they were blowing drinks that had whipped cream on it.
Uh-huh.
And then they were spitting wine.
The British will do that.
The British just really good at
they'll
it.
do that for sure.
He had on a white shirt with red wine stains all over it. So we
So
to be
Mark-
fair, that was probably just Mark's shirt.
So we went to the party from that.
Right.
And so he's like trying to hide around, and there was a real jerk there that had been making moves at me all night long. And so I was dodging him,
Right.
and thank God I can't remember his name now.
Probably good. We're going to be in enough trouble with this story.
No, I
so-
think Mark's going to be a chivalry here. He's going to protect you, right?
Well, yes, he did,
See?
as a matter of fact.
Mark.
And the guy was an Irish guy. You know how those
No,
Irish guys
the
are.
Irish. We love the Irish.
So we have a good time at the party and everything in spite of this guy and everything. So we're starving to death.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to leave and go to this all-night diner thing in downtown Calgary that Nancy knows all about.
Right.
And Nancy, by the way, is a lot of fun at a party or wherever.
Note.
We had some wild times. So we get to this diner, and again, he's trying to keep a very low profile,
Sure.
doesn't want anybody to know it's him.
Well, because at that point, like you said, he is like
Royalty.
Royalty.
Yeah, absolutely, royalty. So here comes this guy. We're sitting in the
Irish
diner.
guy?
Yes.
Did he follow you to the diner?
I have no idea how he ended up there. So he comes through the door, and he knows that Mark is trying to keep a low profile, and he yells, "Oh, look who's here." And then he says Mark's name, and he's, married to Princess Anne, and, on and on. And all of a sudden there is like a crowd outside of this place.
Press.
And this was about
75.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And
At a
but
diner.
the waitresses were like running around making phone calls and everything. And
Right.
so his cover was blown.
It's the same that happens to me when I go to the Waffle House late at night.
But
Yeah,
it-
basically.
And so the good
Johnson.
thing about Mark is that he was actually incognito with you two nice women that were being friends, and y'all were
Yeah.
kind of keeping the low profile, and then this
We're
guy
trying to
blew
protect
it.
him.
Right.
So before we get to the punchline, I think because this is good.
I know.
This is people want to know how this story ends. Let's take a break.
Sure.
And then you're going to come back and we're going to finish this because I want to hear the conclusion of how this all ended.
And then we can get into The Godfather and the other horse that you won the Nations Cup with.
Okie doke.
or you can tell us more great stories.
Either or.
All right, we'll be right back. huge thank you to Stress Less. Amazing product.
Yes, it is.
I use it with not only my horses that are in training, but also my rehab horses, and it helps keep them calm and focused, but not dragging their feet and sluggish and dull. So it's a great product. You guys need to check it out. Thank you so much to Stress Less. We will be right back. Jump for Joy fences are easy to move, lightweight, durable, and low maintenance. So we're out here on the cross country. We just finished over in the show jumping over the Jump for Joy fences. Had a great time schooling over them. They're really nice and easy to move, so we were able to adjust some things and really have the exact school that we needed thanks to the Jump for Joy fences. I love them.
Order yours at jumpforjoyusa.com.
Dusty Rose Farm, a beautiful and newly renovated 25-acre farm, is offering long-term or seasonal rent, dry stalls, and layout. Located in Anthony, Florida, it's just 30 minutes to both Weck and Hits, 15 minutes to Majestic Oaks, 35 minutes to the Florida Horse Park. 38 stalls available for rent in 2 barns that have all the amenities. Large stalls with new mats and automatic waters. Plenty of turnout, a half-mile irrigated track, 300 by 300 natural sand arena with a full jump course and dressage court. Loads of parking with 2 full RV hookups. Call or text for rates to book your stay in sunny and warm Ocala, Florida, 636-751-1200.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We are still here with Dianne Grod and her beautiful little puppy, Baby. And welcome back. We are just getting into the ending of a story about Mark Phillips back at Spruce Meadows at their First Nations Cup, in which you were representing the U.S. He was there representing Great Britain. Tell us about the diner and what happened with all the press gathering outside and 2 a.m.
So Mark put on a waitress, an apron, and like he was a cook in the diner. And got up and kind of waited on our table with his back to the thing, and then made a speedy exit out the back.
Yeah?
And
By him,
so-
he put on this, did you like acting like he was
Yeah,
doing
we
something
were-
and then zipped out the
yeah.
back?
Was he any
Yeah.
good at cooking?
We had him kick that guy out of the restaurant.
Right.
I told him that
He needs to
he'd
go.
been,
Harassing you.
well, yeah, he had.
Well, what a picture. Do you have any pictures of that?
No.
No,
Well, what a
pictures.
great idea for Mark to jump up and put on like something from the diner to get out of
He's
there.
like a super spy. He's
Yeah.
like James Bond.
Yeah, I mean, it was,
So did
it
y'all
was
get-
quite a long night.
Did you giggle about that later?
Oh, yeah, we did. We partied the entire week. Yeah.
Well, that's what happens when you
Actually,
get
So-
that was the second to last day of the horse show.
Oh, there you go.
So you're at the second last day of the horse show, but so you're there with the Godfather,
Yes.
right?
How did
So
you do?
How'd you do? How'd the competition go?
Good. Gosh, honestly, I don't remember exactly. We were third.
So you're bronze.
Yeah. So I don't remember.
Do you remember who was on the team with you?
Susie Hutchison. It was an all-girls team.
Good
Susie
call.
Hutchison, Linda Allen, myself, and Diane Langer.
Wow.
Awesome. Girl power.
And so was the Great Britain team all male? No.
No, it was Ted Edgar's wife, Liz Edgar, Mark. I actually can't think of who the
Well, you
other
got 2 of the 4.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
that's
be able
great.
to tell you either, so I wouldn't.
So Spruce Meadows, the First Nations Cup, you were on the Godfather, a thoroughbred. On
Yes.
top of that, so the story
Very
from you
large
picking him up,
thoroughbred.
yeah, 17-1. And you're how tall?
Now, now I'm 4'8".
But then you were 4'9".
Then I was 4'9".
Yeah. So other accomplishments with the Godfather. Seems like you jumped really. I think there's a picture in the Chronicle.
He won a lot of puissance
Yeah.
classes.
What pre-science you went to 6'11"? How?
6'11", like 4
With
different
you
times.
on your little self on that big horse.
Yeah,
How big was he?
17-1.
17
actually it
one.
was 17'2".
Too.
Yeah.
So leggy, big thoroughbred, and
Road
evidently a lot
narrow,
of scope.
Road narrow.
Yep.
I mean, I had a lot of help from Tom Hardy
Right.
with that horse too. And you could gallop down to anything. You could press him at it, just drop him. and he'd just suck back and fire.
That's crazy.
So I have a
The
question.
one thing was water jumps.
Oh, didn't have
however,
water. Okay.
Oh, he'd always jump it within 6 inches of getting on the other side of the tape.
That's super convenient.
But yeah, I mean, I had 4 faults in the American Invitational, water. I had 4 faults in the American Gold Cup, water. Yeah, water was our nemesis.
Yeah.
So he was all thoroughbred.
Yep.
In our sport, we had all thoroughbreds for a very long time, and then they sort of now, horses have thoroughbred in them, but they're not thoroughbred. Obviously, in the jumper world now, they're predominantly all sport horses or very much warm blood horses.
Rarely see a thoroughbred.
So was that unusual at that time to have a thoroughbred?
No.
And so,
When did it happen?
yeah, and
When
why?
did the change happen?
You know, a lot of the up and coming trainers and stuff didn't have the experience with the thoroughbreds.
It takes somebody
And they
special with the
couldn't train
thoroughbreds.
them.
Right.
And so they became, as soon as the advent of the warm bloods came from Europe and
Started opening the door for that.
opened the door for the thoroughbred to take a back seat.
I've got an interesting thing that I've read about Dianne and The Godfather and the sport itself, something that I never knew until I read this, because we in our sport, up to a certain, I can't remember the year, it might have been the early 90s when the long format went away, we used to have to carry weight. If you weren't at 165 pounds, right? We had to have weight. I don't know if you ever
I had to
were-
weigh 154.
I saw that in your reading. So you had to carry lead in your Grand Prix?
Lots.
Did you know
put it
that?
on, did you put it on the horse or on you?
I weighed like 100 pounds back
So
then.
you put it on the saddle pad?
In front and behind.
right. It's
Just
the
like,
same as
just like the
eventing.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I never ever knew that.
didn't know
about
that show
show
jumping
jump.
did either.
And the only reason I know, thank goodness we had you on the show, is because I went back and read stuff about you, and you said that horse had to carry 154 pounds every time you went out on him.
Yeah.
So we had to carry
It might have been the
equivalent of
water
a full
problem.
bag of feed.
Yeah, and it was really hard to keep the saddle forward with all the weight on it.
Yeah.
It would pull on the breast collar, and you know.
So when did that go away?
Actually, Michelle McAvoy and myself.
Lobbied to get rid of
Yes,
that.
yes.
So what-
But
I mean-
she was a little taller than I am, but short.
I didn't
Still
understand
short.
it for eventing either. And
No,
that
it was
obviously
ridiculous. And
would
I
have-
remember just thinking about weight. We were at Bromont when Jen and I had first gotten together and were dating, and she asked Peter Gray if he would help her because she had to take her saddle and hold the weight to weigh in at phase A on the
Right.
scales and then tack her horse up over there, and she couldn't get the weight up. She wasn't strong enough to get all that weight up, so she asked Peter if he'd come over and help because I was on my horse. And Peter lifted the weight pad and said, "What is that?" She's like, "That's how much weight I have to carry." And Peter was actually on the committee at the FEI that
At
was
the time.
discussing at that time whether or not to keep the weight. He had never lifted a weight pad, which was part of the issue. They don't always, you get people on these committees and they're well-intentioned, good people, but it was interesting to know, like, Peter had changed his opinion completely when you
Sure,
have to lift
when he
that.
had
And
to
for
lift
you,
it.
if you weighed 100 pounds, you had to be 154. That's
54,
more than a bag of feed
54 pounds of lead.
and dead weight.
They were filming at the $100,000 Grand Prix that, where Dougie was, and
Douglas Gray.
they were filming some sort of a movie or a special or something. So they made me, Lynn, the groom, that's still a really good friend of mine, would hand me the saddle and the lead and have to get on the scale and off. They did like 15 takes of
No,
this,
this
me
15
getting on, taking it from her and then getting on the scale and then getting off and then handing
Oh
it
my
back to her.
gosh.
Lynn and I were exhausted at the end of that.
Yeah, because for our sport, for carrying weight, we weren't allowed to have assistants to get on the scale after you were done. when you were done, you had to untack and
Right.
get on the scale by yourself.
And then if you wanted, you could take your bridle with you.
Right,
if
to
you were a
make
pounder.
weight.
Yeah, you could use your bridle.
And the other problem that they had in our sport, which I don't know if it was the same with you, is you would sweat so much. So a lot of the girls predominantly who had to deal with it would not pee. Because they were so worried if they, they'd be drinking water before they go across country.
they would
and then
be
once they
too
started
light.
roads and tracks on phase A, it was like an hour and a half.
Long
They
time.
did not use the bathroom because they were afraid if they sweat off too much weight and had an empty bladder, they wouldn't make weight.
That's
Right.
horrible. I mean,
I don't even like to sleep
It
with a
was
full
the
bladder.
stupidest.
it
one
was, and I'm
ever.
glad it went away. I never had to carry weight. 'Cause
You know
thank
what the
goodness I
reason
didn't.
behind it was?
What, to some kind of
They said
leveling of the field?
that was what they were saying, but it was because a tall guy and a big guy, if they got left or if they got off balance or whatever, would have an effect on the horse's round.
Right.
And so they wanted us.
To have the
That's
same
how
effect?
they were. That's
Kind
how
of
they
fu-
were evening it up.
Well, sometimes the thought process that goes into a lot of things, even today, on rules and what we have in place, doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, I have to say that if somebody like me got left,
Yeah.
at the level we were riding, we shouldn't be getting left.
Right.
But it would have a bigger impact for a big guy like you, for instance.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try not to get left.
Yeah.
I also try not to get ahead.
Getting ahead is even worse.
Tell me about it. Listen, we're going to take another break.
I'm hoping she can stick around.
Can you stick around for one more?
Sure.
All right, awesome. So,
Too many stories we gotta get into.
yeah, we're going to get another saucy moment.
Yeah.
It's coming. All right, let's take a quick break. We will be right back in a moment.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
I'm John Holling. We run Holling Eventing out of Willow Run Farm in Ocala, Florida. We run a full-service training facility here at Holling Eventing. We have amateur clients, we have sale horses, we teach lessons, and obviously our own competition horses as well. When Kurt first arrived at the farm, he was a little bit nervous and excited. Stress Less really helped so we could get him in a training routine. Stress Less is really easy to use. It's a part of our program. He gets it as a daily supplement and it helps us keep him focused and ready to go to work. This year we're moving Kurt up to the preliminary level. He's been doing great and I'm very excited about the season to come. I'm John Holling and I'd recommend Stress Less to anyone who wants to help their horses stay calm and focused.
Rick Wallace here, bringing you Equibrew, a live probiotic that is geared to help your horse's gut health. I'm a true believer in this Equibrew, and it really makes a difference in all of my horses. Equibrew is safe, non-toxic, and clean sport compliant for FEI and racing events. Equibrew is an intact fermentation product with very high numbers of beneficial microbes. Order at equibrew.com or 850-879-2649.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros, and we were lucky enough to convince Dianne to stick around for one more segment. So Dianne, we were talking a little bit between the segments about your second horse that you had at a Nations Cup, which was in '96, you were saying. So tell us about that horse and who he was.
Well, that horse, my son had a very serious accident in '85. He cut his pancreas in half. I was in Europe at Nelson Pessoa's trying horses, and they gave him last rites 4 times and everything.
Wow.
And so I basically quit riding and was a long recovery and everything. And then when he was okay, I quit riding because I had started bringing some other people up to do the Grand Prix and,
Sure,
you know, helping them. And I didn't want to burst their bubble. So finally, in, I'll think of the year soon.
It's fine.
I decided, I had a customer that moved in with me with a bunch of horses, and he said, I want to buy a Grand Prix horse. You know, who can we get to ride it? And I got thinking about it.
Me.
I know.
And I said, I'll ride it. So that year we were at the Indio Horse Show, and this guy I knew from Canada had a really nice thoroughbred, and I said, well, I'll try that one. So he was 16 then.
Wow.
And I was showing horses then, but I was doing the preliminary jumpers or the,
Sure.
you know, stuff like that. I didn't have a Grand Prix horse. So I tried him, loved him.
Another thoroughbred.
Another thoroughbred, chestnut, blaze face, white stockings. But the guy had said he won't pass the vet and all that, and I went, I would still get him vetted. But he wanted $75,000 for him.
Right.
And he was old. And so
That's a lot
I
back then,
go,
too.
Yeah.
I made him an offer for my client, and he turned me down, and I went, okay. Passed on it. And a year later, I'm back at Indio.
17 years old now.
Yeah, 17 years old. And he leads him by my tack room, and he's got the worst clip job you've ever seen in your life on this horse. And I said to him, did you clip that horse yourself? He says, yeah. I go, I can tell. I said,
So you held back. Good
Is
job.
that the same horse?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah. I said, you still have him, huh? Nobody wanted to give you
What you wanted
that
for
much
it.
money? So I said, I want to try him again, because I didn't know what had happened in a year.
Right.
Got on him, match made in heaven. What do you want for him?
85,000.
75,000 still. Would not budge a bit. And so I had him vetted, because I said, it doesn't matter, as long as it's manageable, I'm
We
okay
can
with
take care
it.
of
But pass the vet 100%.
Of course he did.
Not even a change in an nothing. This
Wow.
horse didn't have a splint. And so we bought him. And I started showing him right away there. And I got prizes right away with him there. I had to ride him in a hackamore because he was riding him in a wire snaffle.
Right.
And he had cuts on the
corners of
inside
the
of his
mouth.
corners of his
Right.
mouth.
So he'd flip his head probably a bit.
Well, he was,
Yeah. So you got on the 96 Nations Cup with that one.
yes.
And so
And
where was
that?
That was in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Oh, wow. So how'd you do with that? And the horse's name, by the way, we haven't even said it.
His name was Elan.
Elon. And
Not the same Elan that Tim Grubb rode.
Right.
Different Elan.
Different Elon.
More like Elon
Yeah.
Musk.
Yes, more like Elon Musk. Actually, it was ELAN on the horse, but
And so he went to the Nations Cup at 18?
yeah. No, actually, 19.
He was 19. How
Yeah.
did you do?
Good. He had clean rounds.
Did you jump the water?
And there was no water there.
Even better.
It was actually indoors.
Wow.
Which is,
In Brazil.
who does that?
I know, right? No. All
But-
the time now.
Yeah. And I mean, he was great. It was a fun trip. It was a really fun trip.
So if you could encapsulate your experiences, those two horses gave you 2 Nation Cups, American Invitationals. What was your favorite experience?
I think when I took Godfather to Spruce Meadows,
That would have to be.
we did the
Be all right.
the show before that at Spruce Meadows was the very first horse show. 78 was the first Nations Cup.
Right.
But I was leading foreign rider at the first
remember
Spruce
reading that,
Meadows
too.
Masters. And Michelle Viancourt had been silver medal at the Montreal Olympics.
Right.
And he was champion. And so he was the leading Canadian rider, and then I was leading foreign rider. And that to me was like, this was my first international experience.
So that was a big.
That was a big thing. It's something I'll never forget.
I bet not. Now, obviously, we have a love for thoroughbreds. You have a love for thoroughbreds. I'm going to put this out there. I think that the makeover should get you up to judge one of their makeovers here soon.
Love to.
Make it happen.
I think we can. We can start making some calls. But I think because of your experience with the thoroughbreds, I have read and heard you talk, you'd like to see more thoroughbreds coming into your sport.
And there's people, Bernie Traurig is still a big fan of thoroughbreds,
Right.
and so he has a rescue, and so that's what he's hoping
To do.
to do.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit tough, and I don't want to have a ton of time, but I think it's a little bit tough. I love thoroughbreds. My first event horse was a thoroughbred. I've had very good success with them. They are being bred differently now than they were, and that makes it harder.
They don't have, because they're going for more speed horses.
Right.
And
I
so
think that's
they
a good
don't have
point.
the substance and the bone and
Even the way their neck is set on is different
Godfather
now.
was built like a warm blood.
Right. There's and I think if you look at their breeding, you can kind of traverse through and try to find those. But one of the biggest problems we've found with the thoroughbreds, unfortunately, they can really put down a pretty good dressage. They do a fantastic, incredible cross country, and the biggest struggles we've had has been in the show jumping. Which is interesting that you had two thoroughbreds that went on to Nation Cups that were like really, like you said,
They
allergic to
stayed
wood.
careful,
Yep.
yeah, the whole time.
I have to learn what the breeding were on those.
Yeah,
and we'll
let's
have to
check it
start looking for them.
So, Rick, I had a great idea. First of all, I do have the name of the person that got the T-shirt, but I don't have the first name. It is Camden. So Camden's shirt is going to be on the way by the time this airs.
Camden female, Camden male.
I don't know because it doesn't say that. It's Camden. I didn't.
Well, congratulations,
Camden. Sorry, Camden Goland.
Okay.
And Camden is from Ohio. So Camden got it. I've talked to Camden. Well, texted with Camden.
Okay.
And
I was
very
going to say,
excited.
if you talked to
I didn't.
them.
Yeah, I know. I didn't talk. I didn't speak.
Okay.
I messaged.
Very good.
So I was thinking,
Yeah.
we need to do it again, but we got to do it a little different.
All right.
So we need a different word. And I was thinking for this show, it should be,
Dianne.
well, I was going to say Godfather. Oh. So
I like it.
on,
He would be flattered.
yeah, that's perfect. we'll even get you a T-shirt.
Make sure it's really
But it's got to
large.
say The Godfather.
Well, no, was it The Godfather? Or
It was The
Okay, so it's
Godfather.
got to say The Godfather.
We called him Papa.
So, okay, so we'll do one for Facebook, one for YouTube, or just
Yep.
okay?
One for Facebook, one for YouTube. It's got to say The Godfather.
Right.
And we should even say, you need to tell us what The Godfather Thoroughbred.
Okay, The Godfather Thoroughbred. And then we are going to contact the first person, and then they will find out how to get us the information so we can get their address.
Great, and we will announce your name on Pick Someone at Random.
Pick someone at random.
You should pick someone at random on the T-shirt.
Okay, apparently I'm going to pick someone at random on the T-shirt for both of them. So you put your name in there. It won't be the first one. It's going to be picked at random. That's brilliant. This
I
is why we
like
pay
it,
you.
and I like when rules are being made right on the spot.
On the air.
I love it.
That's right.
So good.
All right.
So before we wind it up, I know we have 2:32.
We
right?
don't because Briggs can't work a clock. It was like 13 minutes when he started it.
Well, we got to go. So, Dianne, thanks for being with us, and thanks for coming in. We'll have to have more stories from you. I'm sure we can dig them out of you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You were a treat. Thanks
It's
for coming.
fairly easy.
It was awesome.
Well, thank you to Douglas Gray Hannon for introducing me to Dianne and Briggs, and we are so blessed to know you, and I can't wait to build a relationship.
I'm excited about that myself.
Good.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right. So we will be back in 2 weeks.
Yep.
I don't know where we're going to be, but
Somewhere.
hopefully in this beautiful studio.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
It's an awesome studio.
Thank you.
See you next time, everybody.
We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport.